My name is Clara, and I've always been a bit, well, different, I suppose. I live in a small house on a street where most folks keep to themselves, or at least keep to their own kind. I'm not one for big fancy parties, but our neighborhood has an annual summer block party, and this year I was feeling a bit more brave. Or maybe just a bit more lonely. For years I'd watched Mr. Henderson. He was our garbage man. Every Tuesday and Friday, regular as clockwork, his big noisy truck would rumble down our street. He wasn't a young man. His hair was mostly gray, under his cap, and his face was lined from years in the sun and wind. But he always had a kind nod for me if I happened to be out, and sometimes, if I was tending my sad little flower patch by the curb, he'd offer a quiet, "Mornin', ma'am. Those roses are trying their best." It was a small thing, but in a world where I often felt invisible, his noticing meant something. He never lingered, never pried, just a simple human connection. He saw my struggling roses, and he didn't laugh. He saw me. So, when the sign-up sheet for the block party went around, asking who was bringing what, I put my name down for potato salad. And then, on a whim, a little flutter in my chest, I scribbled next to my name. "And I'll invite Mr. Henderson, our garbage man." I wasn't there when most people saw it. I heard about it later. Apparently, Mrs. Gable, who lives in the big 2-story house with the perfectly manicured lawn and the prize-winning poodles, let out a hoot. "Mr. Henderson? Our garbage man? Clara, you can't be serious." Her voice carried, as it always did. When I finally walked over to add lemonade to my contribution list later that day, I saw the smirks. Mr. Davies, who fancies himself the neighborhood patriarch, was chuckling with a few others. "Good old Clara," he said, loud enough for me to hear. "Always got a soft spot for, well, everyone." It wasn't meant as a compliment. My cheeks burned. I suddenly felt very small and foolish. Why had I done that? It was impulsive, maybe even a bit silly. They were right, weren't they? He was the garbage man. People didn't invite the garbage man to their parties. But then, a little spark of defiance lit up inside me. Why not? He was a person. A kind person, from what I could tell. He worked hard, harder than many of them, I'd wager. He deserved a bit of neighborly fun as much as anyone. The next Tuesday, when Mr. Henderson's truck rumbled to a stop outside my house, I was waiting. My heart was thumping like a scared rabbit. I had a small handwritten invitation in my hand. He hopped down from the cab, a little surprised to see me standing there so deliberately. "Mornin', ma'am," he said, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Good morning, Mr. Henderson," I managed, my voice a bit shaky. I wanted to give you this." I held out the little card. He wiped his gloved hand on his trousers before taking it carefully. He read it, his lips moving slightly. His brow furrowed for a moment, then smoothed out. He looked up at me, a hesitant, almost shy smile on his face. "A block party? For me?" "Well, for everyone in the neighborhood," I clarified, feeling awkward. "But I specifically wanted to invite you. You're part of our neighborhood too, in a way. You're here every week." He looked down at the card again, then back at me. That's mighty kind of you, ma'am." "Mighty kind. I don't usually, well, you know." "I know," I said softly. "But please, think about it. It's this Saturday, at the cul-de-sac. Starts around 3. He tucked the card into his shirt pocket. "I'll surely think on it, ma'am. Thank you. Those roses, by the way." He nodded towards my flower patch. "They're looking a bit perkier today." And with another nod, he was back in his truck, and the rumbling faded down the street. The rest of the week was a mix of anxiety and stubbornness. I heard the whispers. "Did you hear Clara actually invited him? Can you imagine? What will he even wear? Mrs. Gable made a point of asking me, very loudly, if I was still expecting my special guest. I just smiled sweetly and said, "I hope he can make it. He's a very nice man." Inside, I was cringing. What if he did come? What if everyone was rude to him? What if he didn't come? Then they'd all think I was even more of a fool. Saturday arrived, bright and sunny. The cul-de-sac was filled with tables, colorful balloons, the smell of barbecue, and the sound of children laughing. I set out my potato salad and lemonade, trying to look cheerful. Mrs. Gable gave me a pitying look. Mr. Davies clapped me on the shoulder and said, "Don't you worry, Clara. We'll still have a good time." As if Mr. Henderson's absence was a foregone conclusion, a relief. 3 o'clock came and went. Then 4. No sign of Mr. Henderson. A little knot of disappointment tightened in my chest. They were right. I was silly. He probably threw the invitation in the trash with everything else. I tried to join in a conversation about property taxes, but my heart wasn't in it. I felt a fool, and worse, I felt like I'd somehow put Mr. Henderson in an awkward position. The party wound down as the sun began to set. People started packing up their leftovers, folding their chairs. I was gathering my empty bowls when Mrs. Gable sashayed over. "Well, Clara," she said, not unkindly, but with that superior tone of hers. "It was a lovely party, wasn't it? Even without, you know." I just nodded, unable to meet her eye. I felt tears pricking, and I was determined not to let them fall in front of her. The next day was Sunday. I was feeling flat, deflated. The laughter from the day before, both the outright chuckles and the implied ones, still echoed in my ears. I was watering my roses, which actually did look a bit better, when I heard a vehicle stop at the curb. Not a big, rumbling truck, but something smaller, quieter. I looked up, and my heart skipped a beat. It was Mr. Henderson, but he wasn't in his work uniform. He was wearing a simple, clean-collared shirt and pressed trousers. He looked different. Younger, somehow, and a bit nervous. He was holding a small, lumpy package wrapped in brown paper and tied with string. He walked up my short garden path. "Mornin', ma'am. Clara, is it?" he asked a little hesitantly. It was the first time he'd used my first name. "Yes. Good morning, Mr. Henderson," I said, completely bewildered. "Please call me Clara." "All right, Clara, it is. And you can call me Tom if you like." "Tom," I repeated. It felt strange, but nice. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other. I wanted to apologize for not making it to your party yesterday. I had something I had to take care of, something I couldn't get out of." "Oh," I said, a wave of relief washing over me, so strong it almost buckled my knees. He hadn't just dismissed it. "Oh, that's perfectly all right, Tom. I understand. Things come up." I still felt bad about it, he said, looking down at the package in his hands. "You went to the trouble of inviting me, and that was a real nice thing. Not many folks would." My cheeks warmed a little. "It was nothing." "It wasn't nothing to me," he said, meeting my eyes. His gaze was direct and kind. "So, I wanted to bring you this. It ain't much." He held out the lumpy package. I took it, surprised by its weight. It was a bit soft. "What is it?" I asked. "Go on, open it," he said, a shy smile playing on his lips. My fingers fumbled with the string. Inside the brown paper was a plastic bag, and inside that was the most beautiful, rich, dark compost I had ever seen. It smelled earthy and good. I looked up at him, speechless. "It's from my own heap," he said, a touch of pride in his voice. "Best stuff you'll find. I know you've been working on those roses. Thought this might give 'em a real boost." Tears welled up in my eyes, and this time, I didn't try to stop them. It wasn't just compost. It was kindness. It was thoughtfulness. It was him seeing my small efforts, my quiet struggles, with my little flower patch and offering something truly valuable, something from himself, to help. Tom, I whispered, my voice thick. This is the kindest gift. He shuffled his feet again, looking a bit embarrassed by my reaction. Well, like I said, it ain't much. It's wonderful, I insisted, clutching the bag of compost like it was treasure. Thank you so much. We stood there for a moment in comfortable silence. Then he said, heard some folks were, well, giving you a bit of a hard time about inviting me. My face must have fallen because he quickly added, don't you? Pay them no mind, Clara. Some people, they only see the uniform, not the person inside it. You saw the person. That means a lot. And suddenly, I didn't feel foolish anymore. I felt proud and incredibly touched. Would you like a glass of lemonade, Tom? I asked, remembering I had some left over. I made it. Fresh yesterday. His face lit up. I'd like that very much, Clara. Very much indeed. So Tom, the garbage man, sat on my porch swing, and I sat on an old wicker chair, and we drank lemonade and talked. He told me about his grandkids, about his little vegetable garden, about how he'd been on this route for nearly 30 years and knew every crack in the sidewalk. He told me he'd been a carpenter before, a long time ago, but hurt his back. He didn't complain. He just stated it as fact. He wasn't just the garbage man. He was Tom, a man with a life, a history, a quiet dignity that shone brighter than any of Mrs. Gable's polished silver. As he was leaving, he paused by my rose bushes. You mix that compost in real good, around the roots. Give 'em a good watering. They'll thank you for it. I will, Tom, I promised. And thank you again. Later that afternoon, Mrs. Gable walked by with her poodles. She saw me on my knees, carefully working Tom's compost into the soil around my roses. She stopped. Clara, what on earth are you doing? Just giving my roses a bit of special treatment, I said, smiling up at her. I felt a new sense of calm, of self-assuredness. Is that... She peered closer, wrinkling her nose slightly. It's compost, I said cheerfully. A gift from my friend Tom. Mrs. Gable blinked. Tom? You mean Mr. Henderson? That's right, I said, patting the soil. He brought it over this morning. He's got quite the green thumb, you know. She was silent for a moment, just staring. I think it was the first time I'd ever seen her lost for words. Then she just said, "Oh," in a small voice, and walked on, her poodles trotting ahead. Don't know if she learned anything that day. Maybe not. But I did. I learned that kindness doesn't have a dress code, and true worth isn't measured by your job title or the size of your house. It's measured by the heart. And I learned that sometimes the people who seem the most ordinary, the ones you barely notice, are the ones who see you the clearest and who have the most valuable gifts to share. My roses, by the way, have never looked better, and every Tuesday and Friday, when Tom's truck rumbles by, we share a wave and a smile. And it's not just the garbage man and the lady with the struggling roses anymore. It's Tom and Clara, friends. And that feels more real and natural than any fancy block party ever could.